excellent day for an exorcism.
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast.
I'm John. Fuck capitalism!
I'm Lindsay, trying to write horror novels because I was a weird kid. M. The whole world is a urinal.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Hello, and welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm M.
Today we will be reviewing Resolution. I think it's 2012.
Yes.
Sound right? Lindsay, how about a plot synopsis?
A man imprisons his estranged junkie friend in an isolated cabin in the boonies of San Diego to force him through a week of sobriety. But the events of that week are being mysteriously manipulated.
Okay, so like I said earlier, this is one of my favorite friggin' movies. These two filmmakers, Aaron Moorhead, Justin Benson, they've made a bunch of movies that I really like. I just watched one the other day that was new called Something in the Dirt.
That's their newest one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was excellent. So I like everything these guys have put out so far, but I really like this movie.
Yeah.
And Em and I have watched it before, and Em didn't like it the first time, but I guess we're going to find out if she likes it this time around. So
It's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't get a chance to form my own opinion about it.
okay.
Based on its own, just the movie itself.
It sucks watching movies with me.
You have a very strong opinion about what this is about.
Oh, yeah, but it might be something different. I thought it was about, the first couple times I watched it, that we were the villain. The viewer is the villain.
Oh, interesting, because we want a story.
We want a story, we want something that's, like, entertaining, and they're just in a cabin trying to do rehab. So we want something spooky to happen, because we're watching a horror movie, and it's just not...
I didn't think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the movie, when they're like, let's just go to rehab. No, bullshit! I want something cool to happen here.
You need to die.
That's really an interesting theory.
But in reality, I'm like, I don't want something cool. I want them to go to rehab. I like these characters.
Right.
So I was like, maybe it's something else, and I think it's a god, but we'll find that out much later. So the movie starts off. The two people in the movie are, is it Chris and Mike? It's Chris and Mike,
Yeah.
Yes. Chris is in this video talking to a dog, going crazy, shooting into the air, and he just sends this nonsensical video to Mike, his friend.
Supposedly.
Supposedly sent it to him, not supposedly his friend. So Mike takes it upon himself in a very selfish way to go try and help Chris. And we find out as the movie goes on that it's really not about Chris at all. It's more about Mike. And his wife is pregnant and at home, alone, which comes into play in the next movie, and is like, this is a really bad idea. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and
she
he's
tells
like,
him it's a stupid idea, and he's selfish for
and
doing it.
he just lies to her the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you were surprisingly cooperative.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you would be too if you were chained to a fucking pipe.
Right.
Mike figures out the GPS from what's on the video and decides he's going to go to the cabin, and his plan is give him one more chance to go to rehab, and if he doesn't go to rehab, shock him with a taser, chain him to a pipe, and do what the YouTube videos told him to do.
And he was sent a map, too.
Yeah. That's
to
right.
find him, so.
Which, when he gets there, and Chris is shooting at birds from the front porch and just yelling at nothing,
Yeah.
Chris is like, I didn't send you a map.
Well, he's like, how'd you find me? And he's like, you sent me a map. And he's like, I did. But,
He's a junkie.
in the beginning, you're
no
thinking
phone.
like, oh, well, this guy's like a drug addict and he doesn't know what he's doing. He probably sent him a map and forgot about it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
later on, he's like, there's no computer here, there's no phone, there's no iPad, there's no nothing. How would I send you a video?
Right, yeah. And he's like hearing the shots as he's making his way towards the house, like, okay, please don't shoot me. He's shooting at imaginary birds that keep taking his stuff.
Oh, well, there are birds, but we won't. Again, man, we should have watched this back to back, but
I kind of wish we would have, because I'm like, I want to know how these connect, and if what is it called, The Endless?
Mm-hmm.
If it gives answers to this movie. I'm assuming it does, but I don't know.
the movie isn't about this, but it
But
has
it's
these
connected,
guys in
has,
it. Yeah.
It's like in the same area.
Same universe, same everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mike goes into town, tells his girlfriend, wife,
Wife.
that everything's going fine, and he gets food and comes back, and Chris is not happy, obviously, because why would you be?
He's handcuffed and not able to have his meth.
Is it meth or crack?
He talks about meth and crack, so I don't know if he was doing both. It sounds like he just does whatever drugs he can get his hands
Whatever he
on
can
kind of
get,
thing.
okay.
But
I didn't know if he had
definitely meth. They talked about that, and they talked about crack too. So I'm assuming both.
And Chris told him he was going through meth psychosis.
Right.
So
I mean, he said he was never happy until he started doing drugs. That's what he said, and his body chemistry just makes him want to do drugs.
Part of me is kind of on Chris's side here a little bit. He's not bothering anybody. He's isolating himself. He doesn't want to live. He's just going out his way, man.
I feel like Mike has really good intentions, though, because
Yeah.
he's worried about his friend, and he wants to help him if he is willing to get help.
But he's got to want the help, man.
Right,
he doesn't
yeah.
want it.
If you don't want it, it's not going to happen.
I get his good intentions, but you don't do that to another human. It's just wrong to just show up uninvited and handcuff him to a fucking wall like that.
Yeah, I think in his mind this was the only way. I mean, remember he was like, you know why Jimi Hendrix died? Because he didn't have Mike Danube helping him. And
That's just, in my opinion, that's his selfishness. He's like, I'm the one
Right,
saving you.
yeah.
that goes against like every 12-step program
Yeah.
ever invented. Like you
But in
cannot
his
save
mind,
somebody else. You
He
cannot
thought,
do it.
you know, in 7 days he'll have this out of his system and then he'll be willing to go to rehab. But no.
At night, Chris just starts murmuring, like, oh, please, Mike, please, which would drive me fucking nuts. Any little sound that repeats itself when I'm trying to
Yeah,
sleep.
I would never be able to sleep. But he's just like, it was interesting how he was doing that, because it must have been like he was so tired he couldn't like scream at him, but he's just like, Mike, I need it, please, I need it. Like,
Then in the morning, he tries to get the one up on him by tricking him into thinking he's like dead or something, and
right.
but he just gets tased again.
Yeah.
Goes into town again, comes back again, and this is Mika and Billy show up. They're the ones that are dealing Chris, or Chris
See,
is
it
dealing
was
them.
kind of confusing there. Like, he said that they were his dealers, but he's the one that had the stuff that they wanted, so...
But he missed a payment and was going to pay them back? Was that what he was paying them
Yeah,
back?
but
I think
it
at
was-
one point he hadn't paid them, so they wanted their drugs back.
Oh, okay.
But yet Mike was like, I will give you more than enough money than what he owes you, and they still weren't happy with that.
And that's the first time that something is a little off in this movie. Like, there's
Yeah.
something sinister going on here, but it keeps... The first time I watched it, I'm like, what? What do you want?
Yeah.
Like, all of these things that are unrelated to each other keep happening.
Right.
So this is only the first time that you're like, something weird's going on in this area. Charles shows up. Charles is a Native American. Charles owns this house. Chris doesn't live here. He's not renting. He's just squatting. So Mike's like trying to pay everyone in the whole fucking area off with checks. He's like, I will write you a check right now.
Yep.
And they're like, all right, you got 7 days. Well, no, he wants him to meet him at a casino.
And give him cash.
Give him cash. So he goes in, and they argue with each other. It's
Mike
like,
was just asking him questions, and he
Yeah.
did not really want to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
So
which is strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
Just like everything.
he was like,
But I
just
mean-
leave, just get out.
Like, neither of them realized that this was an Indian reservation. So, like...
It says something like a bunch of junkies are buried in these hills or something like a warning.
mhm,
You know?
Right, yeah.
So,
Because really they were supposed to get, like, permission for outsiders to be able to stay there, right? But he was willing to take the cash.
so while Mike is wandering around, he keeps finding all of these weird things laying around. He finds some slides that he puts in, and it's like a dude killing himself, and all these other ones, like people freaking out, breaking down, and all this shit.
Yeah.
Old pictures that looked like maybe cult type
Yeah.
rituals or something.
Yeah, but it was never clear in this movie what any of this stuff is. It's just random, kind of creepy shit.
Right, but yet it all
Everywhere.
is a story that has a beginning, middle, and end.
Yep, key, very, very important.
By the way, the house that he's squatting in reminds me of all the abandoned houses that I partied in high school.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like the cabin that my dad used to take me to go hunting. That's all that was. It was just non-finished walls, and it was horrible.
I've been in a lot of abandoned places, like exploring, but I've not been in like one having a party or anything. I've never. That would be interesting.
Yeah, whenever there were like big construction projects and they had like bought the land around, so then these old houses would just be, like they would leave. They were eventually going to be torn down, but they weren't torn down yet. So all the high school kids would find them and just go do whatever they wanted there.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, real smart. I was a smart teenager.
So some other random dude shows up named Ted.
Yeah,
who's
he was weird.
trying to sell Chris or trying to sell the
Yeah,
house.
it was like he was a mortgage broker, but not a legit one. like not
those,
illegal.
Like those dudes who put signs up all over the place that are like, "We will buy your home." Like that
Yeah.
kind of guy.
Mhm.
Oh, right.
And he's thinking that Mike and Chris are married, right? And
Yeah.
they're just living in this place together. And Chris thought he could get money out of this, but Mike did not go along with that.
Nope. So that's the last time we ever see Ted. Totally,
Just there.
Just
and
weird.
he's
just a
gone.
non sequitur piece of the movie.
Yeah.
And Ted doesn't even care that Chris is handcuffed to a wall.
Nope, I think he just thought that was something
It was
they had
their-
going on
it was
in their
their kink.
marriage.
Yeah.
He also on a walk, he ran into 3 guys in white shirts.
They
So-
were interesting, and that's what the Endless is going to be about, right?
Yep.
Because I looked at the...
Those 2 of those
Synopsis.
3 are the directors and writers of this movie.
Yeah.
So, and they come back in the Endless.
Yeah, I am very interested to see what that's all about.
But just so that people at home know, it's like religious cultists.
Yeah, but they were like, the Messiah will return in his ship or something? I forget exactly what they said. They want to make everyone aware that that's going to happen.
It's all made up.
It's religion, isn't it?
No, I
I'm
mean
kidding.
what they're saying they're doing is made up.
I don't
what
wanna
they're
know
saying
that
they're
yet.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give it away.
Why are you telling us things we don't know
Stop
yet?
saying the future.
But even not knowing what's going to come of all that in the next one, I liked those little weird interactions. It was
I would like to
interesting.
see a couple of these people more, like little separate stories about all of
Yeah,
them.
for sure.
Especially the dude in the trailer, which we're
Yeah,
gonna
he
get
was
to.
really interesting. Yeah.
So he's showing Chris the video that he sent him and being like, "Where'd this come
Yeah,
from?"
and
Man? But
he's
it's
like,
a
"I
little,
didn't
it's a
send you
little
that."
different. He's like, "I didn't send it," and like you said, there's no computers here. There's no video cameras. I didn't send that. And then the dog dies, which is.
That was so sad. I love that dog.
I'm gonna admit that I fast forward through this part every single time.
Because it's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even Chris's dog. It's somebody
No,
else's dog.
But it's like, oh, it was such a nice dog.
Is it really
And
the
was
French
like-
guy's dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
mhm.
I can't remember what
I know
its
this
name
was
is,
like
but-
way more towards the beginning, but Chris cracked me up. I loved it when he was like, "Oh, I got a dog. We're writing a book together about squirrels.
She's
Her
very
idea."
creative, yeah.
Yeah. Then later he's like, "Yeah, she has such a good imagination." I loved that.
I liked
That
it
was
when
hilarious.
Chris was like, does something smell? Like, what is in here?
Oh,
And he's like,
yeah.
I shit in the bucket, okay?
Yeah.
When Mike goes into town to give the money to the Native American, he's asking all these questions. You don't really get any answers.
No, just like little bits of answers that aren't really telling you much. Like,
There were a lot of people up there. People go missing.
yeah,
Just not.
and they were
really-
like French students,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And he said that they asked a lot about the caverns.
So I thought it was really interesting that he said people come out here looking for aliens, ghosts, cults, and monsters.
Right, yeah. Because it's like there's something about that area that...
So that actually
Attracts those people.
That guy,
Right.
when he goes up to talk to the dog's owner, Byron is his name. He has the coolest line, I think, maybe in a movie, which is, "How does somebody in an isolated oh, go ahead. You have it written down.
No, that's okay. I do have it written down, and that's what I was just going to mention. That's
Don't
funny.
make. Yeah, you say it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
He said, how does an isolated tribesman in Ecuador know the difference between an angel, an alien, and a ghost?
He tells a story.
Yeah.
That kind of goes in with my thought that all of that stuff is the same.
Yeah.
Because who would know the difference if you didn't know what you were looking
Right,
at or
yeah.
have some sort of thing to go with?
Yeah, you just have to, like, make up your own explanation to what this is if you don't know.
This
Well,
guy.
and you can kind of add God to the list too,
Yes.
because
Exactly.
and that's kind of how religion was invented, to explain the
Unexplained
unexplainable.
things.
Right.
Mhm. He also is smoking this red weed that grows on the hills, and I don't remember where.
South America,
I think
he
so,
said.
yeah. But Mike just kind of leaves Byron sitting there.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't understand, because Mike's not... There's something about Mike I don't like. There's something like... He's like a blockhead.
Superficial.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't have a personality, I feel like. Or his
Yeah.
personality is like, it's all about me. Or something. That's why I felt like when he was talking to Byron, and Byron's basically explaining, we're in a movie. Mike is like, whatever, weirdo, I'm out.
He's just
he didn't
not
understand
deep.
what he was saying at all, like, because he was when I stare up and look into the infinite, I see a film, a membrane, a layer, and behind it is another, and each one has a beginning, middle, and end. And he's like, "Do you know what I'm talking about?" And he's like, "No, I really don't."
Even the thing with the mirror, when you look at it looks like a strip of film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But nope, Mike's like, derp.
And I mean, I could see him being a little weirded out by the French guy, because he was very peculiar.
But he's the only character in this movie that aren't there for some kind of like existential reason, like looking for something outside of themselves, outside
No,
of
he
like
is.
reality.
Oh, not that.
Mike.
No. He's there for his own, to know that he tried to do something
right,
good.
yeah,
Right.
to feel better about
Yeah.
And
himself.
it seems like anybody he runs into are like searching or there for like a bigger reason,
Right.
like, or you know.
Mm-hmm. The French students that were there with Byron, they were looking for ghosts or something.
Yeah, he said something about he thought they were looking for ghosts, but they found each other, or looking for monsters, but they found each other.
Right. So it was like Mike wasn't open to this stuff because he wasn't there kind of looking and searching and open to that kind of...
Right. He goes back and he's talking to Chris again. Chris has already told him that, I just want to die, man. Just let me die.
Yeah, just his own way. He wants to just...
And things have gotten so weird now that Mike's like, all right, things...
Oh,
that
Chris tried to kill himself when he came back from the French.
Oh, yeah, but he failed miserably, and he's
Yeah,
like, don't
he
even worry
just
It
about
was
it.
fell
basically just a scratch.
He got bored.
It looked like he had slit his wrist and he was dead, but no.
He just fell asleep.
So, weird things have been happening, like a weird girl standing outside of the window,
Yeah.
which comes back later.
Yeah, they're trying to sleep and she's just knocking with her finger.
Oh, with
She
a
was
weird
creepy.
smile on her face.
Yeah. But Chris was just like, oh yeah, nothing to worry about. She probably just escaped from the mental asylum up the street or whatever.
She did. And a piece of paper falls from nowhere.
Yeah.
Or a picture? Is it a picture or something? Falls from nowhere.
It was he found like a negative film
It was
thing
just-
on his chest.
Yeah, he woke up and it was there.
And then there was the knife that fell out of nowhere that was carving on
Yeah.
the wall.
And those were the same drawings that were on the cave wall.
Yeah.
that he
Which
saw.
he went down. Chris told him where some caves were. He goes down. There's a homeless guy out there yelling at
starts
him.
yelling at him.
Yeah.
Because like, oh yeah, Mike, don't go into those caves.
I should have
There's
sent
a
you
bunch
there.
of homeless junkies in there. But that's when he sprains his ankle running out of there.
Oh right, yes.
So Mike is basically like, one more time. Are you going to go to rehab or not? And Chris is like, I am not going to rehab. And Mike's like, fuck it, fine, right? And that's when the projector the projector turns on and shows them like dead. And Chris is like,
It fast forwards into the future.
Mm-hmm. Chris is like, why'd you do that? And he's like, I didn't do that. I'm in there too. Like, then the laptop turns on and it's like, now. And then Mika and Billy come in and beat the shit out of him and kill them while they're watching it.
Oh right, okay. That was on the
And they're
laptop.
like, how is that happening?
Yeah.
And they're like, let's just get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
before they get here, because they can tell this is probably their future if they stay there.
Mm-hmm. So Mike's starting to put the pieces together, but he's not explaining it very well. Like, Chris is like, what's going on? And Mike's trying to... I don't think he wants to straight up say we're in a movie. So
Well, he
he's-
doesn't know what's going on, really, and so he's like, well, if you had to guess, what do you think's going on? But, I mean, they can't know.
It feels like he's figuring it out, but then he's saying things like, he kept saying, it obviously doesn't, I obviously can't go home. It doesn't want me to go home, or something like that.
But
And
it
I'm
doesn't
like,
want me to
why
stay
here?
here. Oh, because he put the CD in, and it had his wife on the CD dying. It was either dying or saying the stuff from the
She said
beginning.
the stuff she said at the beginning about it being a stupid idea, right?
Yeah.
And it had them, I think Mike and Chris, seeing Charles, and they were like, oh, that's Charles, I'm going to go talk to him, and that's his friends and stuff, and then they hear the gunshots.
Yeah.
So that seemed more like... Because then that sort of happened, only the drug dealers got shot instead of them.
This movie wants people dead.
Yeah.
Whoever's making or watching this movie wants people dead. Also, there's several times in the movie where it's almost like the camera bumps into the film. It's very strange.
It was like, that seemed to be symbolizing when something like paranormal or supernatural was going on. There'd be something weird, like it would turn a little bit red, or it'd like shake a little bit.
Or
the
it
camera.
disagreed with them. Like, it was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And Mike noticed it at one point, and Chris is like, satellites, man.
Yeah. He thought, like, the government was watching them.
Or the house was settling. I think he said it's an old house. It makes noises all the time or whatever.
They decide to leave. They find the bag of crystal meth they were looking for in the truck, so
Right.
Mike has to get rid of that, and he throws it into the cabin, and they get into the truck. There's a CD there. Chris is like, don't play that, but he does, and it's them being killed again, and they're like, what the fuck? What do we do?
Yeah.
Billy and Micah show up, smash poor Mike's gift car. Can you imagine that? Can you guys imagine that? Someone gifts you a car.
That's too
What a
bad.
charmed life.
Right?
And then they have all that film that they find while that's happening.
Oh, yeah, they find more stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff everywhere.
He's looking at the film. He's just trying to look at.
Yeah.
What
But he
happens
doesn't
to
get to
them?
the very end of it, though. He just sees them there with the cabin in the background, and there's a fire. They can't tell what really happens, though.
So they think if they just go back to the cabin and wait, they'll be safer than any of the other options. So they sit outside and they wait and they talk to each other. And Chris is starting to warm up to the idea of maybe going to rehab. But the Native Americans come back and kill Billy and Micah and set the place on... Did I say Micah?
You've been
Micah.
saying Micah, but I think it's Micah.
Micah.
Yeah.
They kill Billy... Jesus, John. They kill Billy and Micah and they set the cabin on fire, house on fire. And all the guns go off in the basement. All the ammunition.
Right.
And that's when Chris realizes that all his drugs are in there and tries to go get them. But then when Mike doesn't let him, he's like, all right, I'll go to rehab, right?
Yeah.
And that's when the film shakes and moves and whatever was behind it goes through it. And they drop to the ground and they're like, can we try it another way? So...
We don't know what they're seeing.
And I'm not telling you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think it's a monster because there was growling sounds. So I think they were going through all of the things. They were going through the cults and the supernatural things that maybe would have been out there, and then drug dealers and all this stuff, and everything was trying to kill them. And when that didn't work, and they were being given hints by something, obviously, but when that didn't work, then monsters were next. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's just like some sort of supernatural entity that likes stories, right? I mean, I don't know. That's all I can...
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
I did watch The Endless, and I remember bits and
Okay.
pieces of it, but not
Don't
all
tell
of
me.
it. So. No, I couldn't put together a coherent sentence
Yeah.
about it, so don't worry.
And I feel like I'm not even going to be able to accurately rate this one until I watch The Endless, you know?
Interesting.
I mean, I can give it a rating as...
An individual movie.
Right, but I feel like it's going to change
We
once
can
I
go
see the
back
next
and
one.
talk about how we feel about that when
yeah.
we do that
and
movie.
how it changes how we feel about this one.
Do you have an opinion about this movie on its own that then changed once you saw The Endless?
Yeah, I am not the monster. That's what changed.
Okay, so
Or the creature, or the god, or whatever it is.
Your theory was that the thing that was after them or trying to kill them was us, the viewer.
Yeah, because we were unsatisfied with what this movie was doing. They don't even realize they're in a movie.
Okay.
So,
Which, if that's not it, I still think that's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
oh yeah. I adore this fucking movie. We ripped through it, and I got the names wrong, so you wouldn't know. This is like one of my favorite movies. But it is. It's not just horror movies. This is one of my favorite movies, and the next one is also one of my favorite movies. I don't know, man. It's just so creative and so well filmed, and I love it. I just love it. I can't sit here and gush about it for 25 minutes, so I'm just gonna say 10 out of 10. I fucking love this movie.
Woo!
So, but you know what? Don't go with my judgment. More go with these two's judgment.
I personally loved it too, but I feel like I'm not going to be able to accurately rate it until I see the next one. But as an individual movie, I really enjoyed it, and it only had a $20,000 budget, and I think sometimes a low budget really works for a movie because they have to get more creative, and it also can give it like a more realistic feel, and it felt really authentic, like the dialogue and everything, and the acting was really good. I thought it was just such an interesting concept, even though we don't even totally understand the concept, and we will in the next one maybe. I am giving it an 8 for now.
I
I liked it better actually watching it on my own. Kind of, I knew there was something else going on with it, but I couldn't remember. So it was kind of like watching it for the first time again. I thought some of the acting wasn't great.
The main actors, or
I didn't like Mike. I didn't like Mike's character. I liked Chris. I thought he was good.
I loved Chris. He was my favorite. He was hilarious. To like interrupt your review, but like I think Mike was maybe just a bland kind of person. You know, I don't think he was like a. I don't think the acting was bad. I think the just character himself was not the most interesting.
Yeah.
I also thought that because they don't know they're in a movie, maybe if they were talking like a normal person rather than acting, it would make more sense. So,
Right.
Kind of like the Blair Witch, where everybody's like, that acting is shit. Well, they aren't supposed to be actors.
Yeah.
So.
As a movie on its own, sometimes the little things that seem to be going nowhere are frustrating. That's why I get the whole, like, not being able to rate it without. So, for now...
If you haven't seen this, it's on every streaming service there is, so you can find
I watched it on Tubi for free.
It's free right now.
Yeah,
so.
I watched it on Amazon Prime for free. It had like a couple 90-second advertisements, but it was fun.
And The Endless is on there too. So.
Yep. Watch them back to back, guys. Don't do what we're doing, because it'll be frustrating. Stuff from people on the Facebook. We asked a question, which was, what is a horror movie you love not enough people know about? So here are some of the answers. From Thomas, we get Satan's Little Helper. Never heard of it. From Matt Burns, we have Halloween Party, Open 24 Hours, Circus of the Dead, and Wizard of Gore 2007 remake. I've seen the original Wizard of Gore, but not the remake. I didn't know they remade it. So Ross Dietz says Haunt. Nate Wyon says, I hope I didn't say that wrong, Nate. I'm sorry. Dr. Giggles, which I have seen. I love Dr. Giggles. It's goofy and stupid. It's a 90s direct to VHS movie, but it's way better than it should be. Way better than it should be. Frankenhooker, that's...
Really?
That's Roy Burns. There's a guy on Facebook who pretends to be the killer from Friday the 13th 5. Roy Burns, not Jason. So he said Frankenhooker. I have not seen Frankenhooker. I want to see Frankenhooker. Kenny says Cube. I've seen Cube. I love Cube. It's excellent. Ned says, hang on, it's just a picture. I have to pull up the name of it. Demon Knight. Guess who's in Demon Knight?
Who?
The heartthrob himself, Billy Zane.
Oh, God.
He is sexy as hell in that movie. So, thanks for writing in, everybody.
This resolution one, I really liked that it didn't fit into just one genre. It really could have fit into a lot of different genres. I mean, like horror, thriller.
It was setting up a lot.
Drama, comedy, like all
Kind
sorts
of
of stuff.
mystery.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it really would be considered horror. Is it considered horror?
I'm not sure. Actually, I don't... I remember looking it up as a horror movie, but I don't know if you would call it horror.
Okay.
Partially, I
Maybe-
would say, but...
Maybe after The Endless, you could classify it as existential horror.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
it's one of those movies that just doesn't neatly fit into any one category, and I
Right.
like that. I like that in a movie, and I like that in music. I like that in everything, where they don't, like, try to just stick with one.
Right.
Yep.
It is different.
Both of these are like nothing, and the third one that I just saw are like nothing I've ever seen before. There's nothing like them. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of their movies.
There you go. You got a convert.
Yeah! Alright, jackpot. If you want to get a hold of us, facebook.com/justanotherhorrorpodcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube. That's it, right? Rate, review, and subscribe.
Or we gonna sew your balls to the wall.
Twitter, Just Horror Pod.
Instagram, just a horror pod.
And that's it. Get us out of here. Do that growl you were practicing.
Thrill me.
Yeah.